Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Thank you all for coming tonight for an update on the 765 transmission line project. We have been working with a team of volunteers to be able to hopefully get you as much information as we can be able to convey. Also give you some opportunities to do some action steps and to be able to have other routes to have your voice heard. We all had to jump through all the hoops to meet the deadline for the PUCs, for the ALJ's hearing. And so it's all been kind of quiet since then. The 391 Commission has been working on our behalf as a government entity. And so our legislators have now stepped up to be able to help advocate for us also. And so we still need you to be able to tell your story. I know it seems like you might have already done that, or you might be in the position where you didn't get the chance to do that and you would like to do that. And so we're going to cover that information tonight to be able to hopefully help you use your voice, have an update and be able to use your voice. So just some updates that we've had is the American Stewards of Liberty has filed a motion asking the PUC to delay in deciding whether the transmission lines are needed until all 5 connected projects in the Permian Basin Reliability Plan have completed their hearings. The ALJs urged that the project should be evaluated as one integrated system rather than individual. They argue that. And since that filing, 43 legislators supported that brief by urging the PUC to pause and to reconsider alternatives. And so tonight we have Representative Shelby Slauson. We also have Mr. Tullis from David Cook's office should be here shortly. And they're going to be able to give us an update on the legislative side. Plus Judge Huckabee is here to be able to give us an update on the 391 Commission. But our goal is to get these lines stopped. It's not on pushing it to our neighbor. It's not on anything other than stopping them. And so I think that we have a lot of strength in standing together. As our shirts say, we're stronger together. And so I thank you for being here, and we're going to go ahead and get started with Judge Huckabee.
Hello, everybody, and I will try to stay here. I'm a walker, so I will try not to walk away. You put a long cord, and then I'll trip and fall. But thank you all for being here. First, I want to say thank you to Emily and the volunteers that have put countless hours into this, and they are volunteers taking times away from their family and their jobs to do this for everybody. I do not believe we would be here at the spot we're in without them and multiple people across the state of Texas. So that also extends to all of you. I don't know how many public meetings we've had, but you're coming out and learning and being part of the process is important. I think that people in Austin are paying attention to that. PUC, I think our governor's paying attention to that. Our legislators are stepping up and starting to really help us with their amicus brief and different things of that. So give yourselves a pat on the back, because without the coordination and the effort of all y'all, I don't think we would be here. So thank you. I want to say thank you. A little bit of update is what she asked me to do about what the 391 meeting or 391 Commission has done. I didn't realize it had been a while since we had one of these public meetings. I think the last one was in Lincolnville. But since then, on April the 28th, we met with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Got to ask them questions as a commission, get them on the record for some things. Found out some interesting things, like that the first time they had been approached about it was the letter they received from me inviting them to come. So things that we learned there. On 5/27, many of you were there. We had Encore come for a meeting. Again, got to ask them some good questions and got them on the record. Not Commissioner's Court, Commissioner. Turn your phone off. Got to ask them questions, get them on the record as well. And then the 391 had a meeting with our state reps. I want to say thank you again to Representative Slauson, Representative Helen Kerwin, who represents Somerville, and then Ross Tillis, who, there he is, perfect timing, represents David Cook, office, who is a representative but is running to be our state senator this fall, for coming and giving us an update on the briefing. A lot has happened since we last met. A lot of what I would consider good things, good energy has happened. The pressure is working. After that encore meeting, they promised to send us some information about their process and items that we had requested from them. We never got that, so on the, I know you're shocked, but on the, I'm looking for the date, I have it here and then I've got notes everywhere. On the 29th of June, I sent a demand letter from the 391 Commission that had demands of information they'd asked. I'm going to read a few of these. The letter is available if anybody wants it. But we asked for answers on things that were asked at that meeting, included but not limited, lack of due diligence in applying for an amended incidental take permit, knowing species not covered by the existing permit are present in the project area, failure to analyze the impacts the project will have on the Erath County Emergency Management Communication System, failure to include Erath County Historical Commission's documented cemeteries and burial sites in the EA environmental assessment, and later actively opposing their inclusion during the public hearings, failure to provide adequate notice and time for local governments to respond to the request of potential impacts at the start of the project. There's some questions on that. We did find a letter that they sent that was dated December the 12th of 2024. I never got it. We get a lot of email. It could have got missed. I don't know. But it had an end date to respond in 21 days with all the potential impacts it could have in Erath County. So I didn't have the letter. I would have spent my Christmas doing that, but we did not get that letter. Failure to provide specific details to firefighters, first responders regarding a 765 kilovolt power line so they could adequately assess the impacts and provide meaningful analysis to be considered during the PUC process. Failure to provide specific analysis of the effects of 765 kV line has on agriculture, including dairy and milk production, organic farming, and cattle operations. Failure to adequately address the anticipated 40% uncompensated property loss landowners will be forced to absorb if the project is approved. And failure to adequately address the potential groundwater contamination issues construction of the transmission line may create. Again, not everything, but we asked for responses for that. To date, we have not received those again. So we will keep pushing as a 391 to get answers as we move forward, which I think is going to lead into some of the other conversations that are happening here tonight. I won't filibuster up here, but it's important that we keep pushing. It's important that we stay strong and we keep telling your story. Everybody's story is different, whether it's a school or a dairy or your home or your children. Everybody's story is important. You all have those stories, and it's vitally important that we continue to ramp up the pressure through this. The Senate hearing that's coming up next Wednesday, I'll be attending. I know many of you will. They're going to have some more information on that, but it's your time to very quickly tell your side of the story and allow our senators to hear it directly from you. They hear from me, but I think it's important they hear it directly from you, your story, your impact. I think we're, like I said, I think we've got great momentum moving here, but we need to finish running this out. We're at the 20-yard line. Don't celebrate. Let's keep running until we get to the end zone. And part of that process is going to be at that Senate hearing committee meeting. There's, I think Joanna and others will give you updates of deadlines and things like that. Some of this stuff is, it's unprecedented. There's deadlines that have been passed where we should have had some information and not. But again, I think I want to give all the credit back to people such as yourselves that have been mobilized and against this. And so again, I want to say I appreciate it. Our office is open anytime if you want to come visit with us. We're on the first floor in the courthouse. I welcome you to come visit. I welcome you to call my cell phone, whatever you need. We appreciate you, and let's keep going. Thank you.
I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge all the efforts of the 391 Commission. So on the 391, the ERAF Somerville Sub-Regional Planning Commission, we have Chairman Judge Huckabee, we have Commissioner D. Stevens, we have Joanna Friebel, we have the county judge in Somerville County, and 2 commissioners from there, and 1 commissioner and 1 citizen. And so, and the city of Stephenville, Gerald Cook and Mark Reisman serve on that. And so those, if you have not taken the time to look to see what they have been doing on our behalf, I urge you to do that. You can go to the ERAF County website under Community. There's a Community tab, and there's literally a tab that's for ERAF Somerville Sub-Regional Planning Commission. So you can go there and you can look at the policy that they have in place. They have advocated for nearly every type of thing that happens in ERAF County, every type of resident. And if you feel like you are not represented by that, then you just need to let them know, because somebody didn't know that you had a voice in that. And so they have been very forthcoming in asking people for input. And so if you have something, please let them know. You can also go to YouTube and go to the ERAF County channel on YouTube, and you can watch all of their meetings that they've had there. It also has the meeting with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and it has the meeting with Encore, and it has the meeting with the representatives where they all were able to speak on our behalf to give an update there. I attended that meeting, but I felt like it would be nice to have them be able to tell us, not at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but to tell us at more time that more of us could be able to attend. So if you have more questions and you would like to know more information, please go there. And there's a lot of cities and citizens across the state that are fighting their county government for not supporting them and not backing up and not doing what's in the best interest of our citizens. And I really think in ERAF County we have something special, and we need to be very appreciative and acknowledge their efforts, because that's not something that a lot of people get to have. And so it doesn't matter what party you're in, we're all in this fight together. And so I'm thankful to them for representing us. So if we could have a round of applause for them. Next, we have Representative Shelby Slauson. She is our state elected representative, but she also is ex officio of the 391 Commission. And so she has seen this from multiple angles. And so I would like to give her the floor to be able to share what updates she has for us. Y'all welcome Shelby Slauson.
Thank you, guys, and thank you especially to Emily for her just dogged determination throughout this entire. If you've known her for any amount of time, you're not surprised by it, but I'm continually grateful to her. So many of you I have visited with, but some of you I have not yet. So just to kind of give you a little bit of an overview from the legislature's perspective on where we started and where we're at today. As y'all know, that House bill that we passed a couple sessions ago, House Bill 5066, the intent of the legislature at that time was to try and address some grid reliability issues that we saw in the wake of Winter Storm Uri, when our grid came within less than 5 minutes of a total blackout. And that caused some massive concern about what are we doing, as we're also seeing growth in the state of Texas to ensure that we don't replicate that situation, and we're also planning for what comes next. And so House Bill 5066 came to the legislature as a way to proactively plan for that. What it did not come to us as was somebody's grand idea about these massive transmission lines through our part of the state that are unprecedented in the state of Texas. It begs the question of how did that bill morph into what it became after we were out of session. And I don't have a good answer for you on that because no one has given me a good answer, just like they haven't given you one either. What we discovered last, I believe it was in early June of 2025, is when we saw the preliminary plans on how it was going to affect our area. And immediately, I and our staff realized this is a bad situation for our counties that are affected. And we began hearing from some of you too. And I appreciated Emily's comment about we're not picking sides on where we want this to go. We want it to go nowhere, because that's been a change in the last year. Initially, some of those calls, including from people in this room who I won't name names on, were saying, I don't care if it goes in the north end, just not in the south end. Or I don't care if it goes in the south end, but not up here where we're at. And so for our office, we immediately recognized we can't pick sides. That's bad business. We're not going to create a civil war within Erath County about where these lines would go. And it took all of us a little bit to figure out, both on the technical side and on the logistical side, what is even contemplated for the area. At the same time that we're dealing with that up here, other areas down south of us are seeing early or later stages of the same thing. And unfortunately, legislators up here didn't realize the situation for those south of us, and those south of us weren't paying attention. So just like it took Erath County a little bit to realize we don't want to push it on to our neighbors on the other end of the county, it was the same situation with other House members. I was very grateful, Judge, I think it might have been March, it was early March, when Judge Huckabee called and said, hey, we're putting together a 391 commission. Would you be willing to serve? You don't get to vote, you'd be ex officio, but would you be willing to serve to help us try and have a coordinated response to this? And I was very grateful to get that invitation from you and join the commission. The commission, many of y'all have been to those meetings, I've seen many faces in here at those, has been doing an incredible work coming up with every potential reason why those lines should not, could not go through Erath County or Somerville County as well. For legislators, another very important development for us came in May of this year when the Texas Public Policy Foundation put out a multi-page report about why these transmission lines would be economically bad and logistically bad for the state of Texas. If you're not familiar with TPPF, they're a very well-respected think tank in Austin that enjoys the attention of many legislators down in that area. So to have them putting out a report addressing technical and strategic and political issues was very helpful to connect some dots among many legislators and to get a different set of eyes paying attention. Because just like state representative up here in your district, I wasn't really paying attention to what was necessarily going on down in Bell County. Bell County wasn't necessarily paying attention to what's going on in Erath County. But representatives in other parts of the state, down in the Houston area, they weren't aware of the transmission line fights that we were having until we start getting things like that TPPF report out. TPPF and the American Stewards of Liberty coordinated an amicus brief for legislators to sign on to file with the Public Utility Commission in early June. That was a big win for us and for a coordinated legislative response. In a relatively short amount of time, I think we had 4 or 5 days to get colleagues aware of the situation, read up on the brief, and signed on to it. We had 34 House members and 9 senators sign on. In the days following that, we heard from several that just hadn't seen the email in their inbox but are with us on it. And that, I believe, in the days it landed right before the PUC held the hearing on that first segment of the line. And I think that amicus brief was very important in securing the abatement that was requested by the American Stewards of Liberty. So they were asking, as you may recall, for the 5 projects to be combined into one case instead of looking one little line at a time and deciding, oh yeah, the need exists. Oh yeah, because once you decide in that first case that the need exists, it presupposes that it exists for everything that comes after that. So ASL was asking, combine it all and look holistically at this entire project and see if this is actually what we should be doing for the state of Texas or not. And when the PUC met, they unanimously voted to abate that first segment and not make a determination on need for that piece of it. That's a win for us in this room. Now, like the judge said, it gets us further down the field. It's not time to spike the ball and celebrate by any means, because what the abatement meant was they put off a decision until the next piece of the puzzle comes up before them. Well, we're the next piece of the puzzle. So the second, and Joanna probably has the date top of mind, August 18th is the next segment to go before the PUC. What we want them to do that day is either bundle them all up together or abate ours until the next one too. I don't have any inside baseball information on what that will be, but I think that indicators are good for us that they would at least continue to abate that. I know there's a bunch of people here planning to come down to the Senate hearing. Yes? Are you planning to go? Would you raise your hand? That's fantastic. Candidly, please prepare yourself for a long day. It's tedious to wait to give your 2 minutes of testimony. It's very important too. I've been in hearings before that last until the wee hours of the morning, and I know that it can be taxing and tiresome. Please know that your House District 59 office is available to you all day long. You want to come hang out in there, come have some snacks, we welcome you. It's your office, and we'd be happy to have you. If you want to just get out of the hearing room for a little bit, we'd be happy to have you in there. If you need assistance while you're there locating any of the rooms or with parking or getting your comments filed with the clerk, let us know how we can help you. We'd be happy to do so. I want you to know that your 2 minutes does matter. I think the information here helps you or reminds you to focus those comments. They will cut you off at your 2 minutes, and that's frustrating sometimes for people, but it's important to ensure that those that are coming later get the chance to give their 2 minutes of testimony too. There have been times where I've had constituents come down and they feel like, what does it even matter? But I've had those constituents wait and testify in the middle of the night, and then later members of that committee have made comments about, I saw your people were there until the middle of the night. And I've told them, yeah, that's why we're fighting. That's my bosses on this. So thank you for noticing. So don't despair if it takes a while. I have also had numerous conversations with the Speaker's office and with his team about how the House is going to handle a similar hearing. They have not posted a hearing date yet for the House State Affairs Committee, but it's my understanding that subsequent to the Senate hearing, there will be another hearing announced on the same topic for another bite at the apple. Same situation. We'd be happy to welcome you to come down. I think after we see how the Senate hearing goes, that'll give us all a little bit of information about how to strategize for the next opportunity to go and do that. I'm hopeful that it will come before the August hearing date for our segment of the line, but I don't know at this point. I have also personally organized a meeting of legislators on this topic to be held in August, when I'm hoping that a bunch of us will be in the area, so that those colleagues who don't live up here and don't understand what's going on for us, so that we can have some face time with them to explain what our districts are experiencing. I'm grateful to have help with that from Chairman Brad Buckley out of Bell County and Representative Ellen Troxclair over in the Fredericksburg area. So they, I can assure you, are equally incensed about these lines, and we're just trying to do what we can to make sure our colleagues understand that this isn't just business as usual. These would be new in the state of Texas, and so that they understand that the bill that was voted on in 2023 has morphed into something that they didn't know about and they didn't intend either. At the same time, I know that, to be very honest, I know that the industry players are trying to educate those same lawmakers in a different direction and making a pitch to them about why this is the latest, greatest, best thing for the state of Texas. So we're doing what we can to counteract that information so that they are not just operating on expert pitches being made to them. So that's kind of where we've been, where we're at. Our goal through the amicus and through the legislator groups is to delay, debate each piece of it, get us through the fall until the legislature convenes in January so that we can take this up as a body at that point in time. So, thank y'all so much. And that's what I have for this. And then I'll be around for questions or whatever Emily's next piece of it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm super thankful to the legislators that have now stepped forwards and said that they are united with us in this fight. I think that that's tremendous when we were just a group of citizens saying this is what we don't want this. And it became a county government that said we don't want this either. And now we've been able to get the legislators to be with us also and united that this is not what's best for our area. So on the other side, we have Mr. Tullis from David Cook's office that has some stuff that he would like to share. So if you would like to come forward, this is Ross
Yes.
Tullis from David Cook's office.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Yes, my name is Ross Tullis, and I'm here speaking on behalf of Representative Cook. I have a message from him that he'd like to share. He's sorry he can't join this evening, but anyway, thank you all for including us, despite the fact that we don't yet represent this area. We're looking forward to supporting your effort next session. Representative Cook wanted me to extend his sincere gratitude to all of you for taking the time to be here today, for sharing your concerns. He knows full well that the 200-foot rights of way for these transmission lines and other aspects can permanently restrict how you use your land and severely impact your property values. That's exactly why Representative Cook signed onto the amicus brief that Representative Slauson mentioned with the American Stewards of Liberty and 42 other of his colleagues. Additionally, we want to make sure that everybody understands the best practices for testifying next week during the committee hearing. If your schedules permit, and to ensure your voices are heard, we do strongly encourage that you consider testifying in person. I know a few people raise their hands, and thank you so much for taking the time. I would encourage more people, if you have the availability to go. Because unlike the House, the Senate does not offer an option to submit written testimony online. So being there in person is important. Looking at the one-pager for y'all's meeting, happy to see that the Ratepayers First has a QR code that you can each quickly send a message to your legislators, and they'll add your signature to their 2-minute testimony that they'll be giving this next week. But more people and more numbers is often the most persuasive way to let legislators know what all of y'all are going through. So on behalf of Representative Cook again, thank you for standing up, and he welcomes ongoing suggestions as the issue continues to evolve. Please feel free to contact us by phone, at 817-821-1096, or by email at info@davidcookprotects.com should you have any questions to provide further feedback. Thanks so much.
So I don't know how many of you know, but the line that was the first hearing that that Ms. Lawson referenced earlier is the Longshore to Drill Hole section of our line. So it is the far west section of our line. It has just shy of 500 filings in the interchange for that line. So they listened to the testimony. They had the amicus brief. They had all of this public testimony that day for less than 500 filings on that line. Our line, Dinosaur to Longshore switch, has just shy of 5,800 filings. So if they had an issue making a decision with less than 500, just imagine what it's going to be like if we can continue to maintain that we still stand with everyone else that has filed. That's a tremendous difference in 500 and nearly 5,800. And so I thank you all for what you've done. And so one of the main key information things for me, to be able to even know what to do in this fight, was Joanna Friebel. Joanna Friebel is a treasure. She has been able to help our 391 commission. She has helped me tremendously in being able to know how to navigate this, because I'm just Emily from Lincolnville, Texas. I don't know anything about all this. All I know is I'm not going to tolerate it. That's where we started. Like, it's not okay. I don't know how to use my voice, but I need somebody to teach me. And so Joanna has done a fantastic job in helping me have the resources to be able to bring to everyone else to say this is not okay. So we have Joanna that's going to come speak in just a second. The other person that's going to be able to remote in a minute is going to be Molly Vogt. She is with American Energy Works. And so we have those two speakers left this evening, besides closing with me. And so I just want to give Joanna the floor to be able to share with y'all how important it is to continue the fight and what that looks like on her side. So if you're welcome, Joanna. I'm going to make it shorter.
Shorter, thank you. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see so many faces. Let's see if I can make this thing work. Because I don't speak very loudly. Is that better? Okay, I have some good news for you. I think we broke the PUC. Temporarily, anyway. They couldn't make a decision on the last line. Like Emily said, she stole my thunder with all my numbers.
Sorry.
But yeah, they had 555 filings on that line. And they picked that line for the first line for a reason. There weren't many people out there. There weren't many interveners. There were no pro se interveners. I tried to be, but it wouldn't let me. So they didn't have what we have. And what we have is you people, you guys, everybody here who stood up and who has fought with this. The people on the western part of the line did not have that. And I've talked to many people out there now, and they didn't know how to get involved. They didn't know what to do. So I'm really, really pleased that we were able to accomplish that. And we'll see if the PUC stays broke. But this has been a year, but for me, this started 2 years ago. I was in a Senate hearing, that long, one of those long days, listening to an energy resource meeting. And I heard about the Permian Basin Reliability Plan. And they were so excited, I'm thinking, what's going on? What's going on? This has to be important. So 2 years ago, I learned about this. Then I started looking into it. It took me almost a year to try to figure out what was going on and what was happening. It took, nobody knew. Nobody could give me any answers. And so it took, it was, 6 months before I heard back from some of our senators. Anyway, and what I saw was it had no legislative oversight. The plan was approved, the plan went through, it was a done deal. And I'm sure you saw this too, and this is a big thing for you. It didn't go back, after the plan was made, the plan was determined that ERCOT do the plan, come up with a plan, come back to the legislators, tell them about it, but they did not have to get oversight, which is bad. That's what needs to happen. All these plans need to have legislative oversight before they go ahead. And I think that's why it went ahead with such a big move. This application was filed on February 19th. And the final PUC decision is August 18th, we already heard. But the ALJs were supposed to have a decision on July 14th. It hasn't come. I thought, well, maybe 3 more days, because we went over to on time. As many of you remember, we went to the Monday. 3 more days was Friday. No decision. No decision today. No word, nothing. We're kind of left hanging in the dark as to what's going on. And that's not right. They made us stick to a deadline. They need to at least give us an answer why they haven't met their deadlines. And to me, that's a big deal as well. I was at the PUC hearing when they abated the first line. There were quite a few of us there talking, because there is a group of us who are involved in all 3 lines. And they showed up as well because they were having the same issue on the western end of their line. And still, they had, I can't remember how many people they had on that one, not very many, 500, I think. And same issue, not many people. They did have a few pro-sayers, and they were quite noisy. So they got some stuff done. They got some consolidations done before we did. And that kind of slowed up the process on their line. Once they do half the line and they approve it, then it's pretty much automatic the rest of the line is approved. So it's a good thing the western end of our line was abated. We'll just have to wait and see what happens from there. But we're not finished yet. As Emily likes to say, we can do hard things. There's more to do. Once the decisions, the PFDs come from the ALJs, we have to do exceptions. So we have more writing to do once that comes through, more filing on the PUC website. And then, of course, we're waiting to see what happens in August. But our next biggest thing is September 29th. And that's very important. And then we will have,
July 29th.
sorry, no, September 29th, next week.
That's July.
Sorry, July. I'm ahead of myself. I'm sorry, July 29th. Our next big thing. And then when we have a house hearing, another big date. And then when the PUC discusses the decision by the ALJs, it's another date with the PUC. And in fact, on the 30th, the PUC has another meeting, but we don't have their agenda yet to see what's happening on that. But I'm hoping some of us can make that. There are going to be several trips to Austin. At least the PUC side, PUC meetings are 1.5 to 2 hours. They are 5 to 10 hours. So it's a little easier to plan for. On your talk on the July 29th meeting, the 2 minutes isn't long. Be very precise, but also give them an alternative. Give them a short but brief alternative of what you think they should do. We can't just tell them, okay, you need to do this. But say, okay, think about this, think about that, or whatever you feel like they need to do other than just stop it, pause it, or whatever. Come up with an alternative. They always like alternatives. We need to have that in there. 2 minutes is not long to do that. It takes me about a week to write a 2-minute speech. So good luck, everybody. On this line, we had about 48 groups and individuals represented by attorneys. We had 361 pro se interveners. That tells you a lot. That tells me that you guys showed up. You went through all those meetings, you did your testimonies, you came back, you did written briefs after that, and you stayed with it. And I congratulate you on that. This has not been an easy process for anybody. It's been a learning process for everybody. And I congratulate you all on it. People don't think they can stand up here and talk And Brendan knows, my pet peeve, my pet hate is standing up here talking. I do not like it. But I do it because I know a lot and I want to get information across to you. So anybody can advocate, anybody can stand up here, anybody can do this. Just bring your knowledge, whether it's huge, whether it's small, whether it applies to you or whether it applies to the whole group. We all need to stand up and speak, and we all need to defend our county, because this is where we live, this is what we have, and we don't want to lose it, because we love where we live. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you for everything. The next thing that we have, the next speaker that we have is Molly Vogt. She is with American Energy Works. She was planning to drive here, and on her way here, she had a blowout, and there wasn't enough time to get the tire repaired and get here in time. And she's a single female, and I don't feel like it was good for her to drive 3 more hours on a donut at nighttime. So we pivoted, and so our pivot is for her to be here remotely. She has prepared a document, and there's 2 documents over there. There's a ratepayer first document that gives you information. So she's going to go over this document that's got the blue writing on it, and then I will touch base with you whenever we are done with Molly. So Molly, if you would take it away. First document that gives you information. So she's going to go over this document that's got the blue writing on it, and then I will touch base with you whenever we are done with Molly. So Molly, if you would take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me be here. Can you hear me? Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Great. It's so representative to all you. Thank you, Representative Lawson. Thank you to Judge Huckabee. Thank you to Joanne Freeble. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you to Ross from Representative David Cook's office. Everybody, every single one of you. Emily Howell. You've all just done so many amazing, wonderful things in this fight. I'm with American Energy Works, and we are an organization that exists to educate our legislators on energy policy that is going to make our grid affordable and reliable. And we know that our legislators aren't all energy experts, and they've got lobbyists coming at them from all parts of the world that have a lot of money behind them that say we need more wind and solar, we need transmission, we need batteries. But the truth is, our energy market in Texas has been broken since before Winter Storm Uri. And instead of building more reliable, dispatchable thermal energy sources, after that we doubled down on wind and solar, which is why we have this need for these transmission lines, which we think are really just a very expensive Band-Aid, $100 billion Band-Aid, to take weather-dependent energy from one part of Texas into the Permian Basin, which I'm sure, as you can imagine, is like taking sand to the beach. And we need to stop that. But the whole point that we're going to show on the 29th next week is we want to share the personal stories with our legislators, because we want to arm them with what they need, the exact stories, the questions, and paint a picture for them of what it actually looks like if these transmission lines go through. We want them to see that it's not just a line on a map. We want to show them there is a family behind every line. There's a community, there's a farm, there's a ranch, there's a school, there are cemeteries that people don't even realize are there. And so, I'm sorry, is it okay to keep going? I'm hearing background. Are we good? Okay, great. So, one of the things in addition to American Energy Works is I also have a podcast that I've been recording as many stories as possible from your communities, and they're shared around Texas on OBBM Network TV, because I want every single person out there that doesn't live by a transmission line to understand what this will do to our communities, to their food supply, to their economy, and to our freedom and our property rights. So I've been gathering this story, and thank you to Judge Huckabee for sharing so many. My call to action is I want you all to please try to come down on the 29th. I've got a flyer up here, and like she said, they've been shared in the room as well. We want you to come down on July 29th. If you can testify, awesome. You've only got 2 minutes, as Representative Slauson said, so I would suggest writing it down and practicing it so that you can read it and get it done within 2 minutes. You're going to bring 15 copies to give to the committee as well. And I suggest you're going to email it to Anika Bandiar. It says that here on the screen in advance. You want them to have a copy. But I also wanted to invite you to do something different. Whether you're coming or you're not coming, scan this QR code right here on the left, because this allows you to send an email automatically to your state representative, your state senator, and the PUC. Joanna, let's bring the PUC's email again. Everybody, if you put your name in here and your zip code, it's automatically going to send an email with our letter saying stop the 765. We don't want to pay an additional $100 to $200 per household for these new lines. We can't afford it, so vote no. But the great thing is that this email is going to go to everybody. So regardless of whether you're coming or not, please do this. Another thing that'll happen with your name on this QR code is that I'm going to print it and share it with my testimony. So I've got about 2,500 names so far that I'm going to print and add on to my testimony. I'd love to add yours. That way I can walk up and share 15 copies of, let's say, 4,000 people. Who knows? Because we know that not everybody has the opportunity to get down to testify. We know not everybody had the opportunity to go to Encore and testify. I think Emily said it was something like maybe 600 people in your communities that didn't have the opportunity, or maybe they didn't get picked to testify. So we want to make sure that every single person has a voice. So that's really the goal there. Then also you'll see if you do on the QR code is some tips to testify, kind of giving you an example of how to do that. Additionally, if you go to the QR code or just our sheet here, we give you a map of how to get to the Capitol, where you can park, where the hearing room is on the first floor, and then also on the second floor, we have reserved a room. It is it's called like the Legislative Conference Center. It's on E1012. So when you come to the Capitol, I'm sure that hearing room is going to get pretty booked. Feel free, if it's too booked, like Representative Slauson said, to go to her office. You can also come down to our area. We'll have plenty of seating. We'll have the TV on so you can watch it there. And of course, if you're here not to testify, just to watch, please feel free to come on down. We're going to open the doors at 8 a.m. We'll have coffee and waters. And when you go to sign up to testify, sometimes they'll let you sign in on the iPad an hour in advance. So if it starts at 9, you can sign in at 8. But sometimes it might be only 30 minutes in advance or 5 minutes in advance. So the clerk can help you with the iPads that are outside the hearing rooms. But I will also have iPads in our area just below at the Legislative Conference Center. So know that we've got a space for you. We would love for you to come down and see us there as well. Last thing I'll say is, whether you're coming or not, I'd love your story to get your bullet points in front of the Senate Business and Commerce Committee in advance. I've already one time given a round of names of people that the Business Committee could reach out to in advance to ask questions, personal questions, like Katie and Ryan McDowell's Armagh Dairy and Creamery. I want our legislators to be armed with questions that they can ask Encore, that they can bring to the PUC to say, what about this family history that's a 5th generation certified organic dairy farm that could potentially lose everything, all their business, all their contracts, because of the pesticides that would be required under these transmission lines with the huge 200-foot right-of-ways. What about Vanessa Halford's White Horse Christian Academy? She devoted 31 years to public education. As many of you in the room may know, that instead of slowing down in retirement, she decided to invest her retirement, her family's land, and her own resources to open a Christian school and from the ground up. And it started with 13 students, and now it has more than 160. And it's got $4.7 million invested in this campus. They have an architect that already planned a build out that was not on Encore's map, where they've got new classrooms, a gym, ag barn, athletic fields, all of this. And, you know, Vanessa wasn't asking for a fight or to be an intervener at the PUC, but she took that fight on and she asked them, please help me get this school going for these kids. I've shared her story on the podcast through OBView Network TV. I've also given it to our legislators. Like I said, if you've got a story and you want to get it to them in advance, if you would be willing to be an expert for them to ask what's going on, please send it to me. I've shared Lance Trink's protected wildlife corridor along the South Biloxi River. I've shared Frank Terrell's 83-year-old fourth generation Southern Ranch and Shelley Fair's home vineyard and 99 years of family history at Bar Ditch Winery. Many, many, many stories. I'm collecting as many possible to share because, like I said, all of our legislators, they want to help us. Representative Slauson, thank you so much for all you're doing. I'm grateful that 43 legislators signed on to that amicus brief, and I'm hopeful that many more will sign on the next time around. And if we can pause these lines, like you said, and then the legislature can take it up during this next session starting in January, my goal is to give all of our legislators arrows for their quiver to say, this is the reason we've got to stop these lines. We know the farms and the ranches. We know that we've already lost so many independent ranches in America and farms, and our food supply is at risk. And so this is why we are going to stop and make sure that we are building the right kind of energy in the right spots, reliable thermal, close to where it's needed, and not taking over 70,000 acres of private property without giving one new single gigawatt of energy while increasing everybody's rates. And those of you that are in the way of those lines that give your property, you're also going to be paying more in your electricity. And so obviously on the 29th, the goal is to get as many different stories heard, and we're limited in the amount that can be heard. So we want you to come down and sign up as fast as possible, as early as possible. And then, like I said, if you can't testify, please still show up. Let's just show them that we are watching. We need Governor Abbott to know that we are watching. So this is the one pager. Please, I hope you scan that and you've got information and access to the Capitol. Jocelyn, please feel free, Emily and Jocelyn, to share my information. I'd love to talk to any of you and share your stories, record your stories, and put you on the list to be heard. I just want to say, you know, Texas, we're not giving up without a fight. We are fighters, and we stand on the shoulders of giants, and your story matters.
Thank you so
And
much,
your
Molly.
presence
We
matters.
appreciate
So
your
please join
efforts
us.
in helping our So, thank you so much, Molly. We appreciate
if you
your
need
efforts. If you have any questions about what Molly said, up here on the table is this flyer. You will also see another document that is the Stop 765 KV. And so this is another route that we would like to see you take. Sorry. I have some fantastic volunteers that like to always stay behind the scenes, and that is the Terrell Sisters. They're a fantastic resource. And so we were able to talk about like what we wanted this meeting to look like, what we wanted to be able to do, and how we could help you make an impact. And so one of the things that we feel like will help make an impact is you telling your story. Again, I know that it seems like we've already done that. But part of what we did before was having to fit into a format and a testimony style. If anybody, the people in here that actually did their testimony, met the deadlines, jumped through the hoops, and literally like had to do a testimony like you were interviewing yourself. I'm Emily Martin Powell. I live at this address. This is how long I've been here. This is how this will impact me. All of the things as if you were interviewing yourself, the question, the answer. And so remember, you're working with somebody from Lincolnville, Texas. We'll see how it works out. But I have some Stephenville ladies that are a fantastic resource. So we would like you to read over this page. It shows what you can do now and how you can make your voice heard is write a page letter telling your story, who you are, what you do there, when did you hear about this, how long have you had it, where is it located, and how it will impact you. I think that my high school English teacher will probably be very proud that I used that format, but you know, it feels like this whole thing has been a research paper altogether back in high school again. So if you can take the time to do that, we have on the back side of that paper where to send your letters. So if you plan to attend the hearing, so the Senate, I learned today that the Senate hearing is different than the House hearing, that if you plan to attend the hearing, you can submit your letter in advance to the Senate committee secretary. If you are not planning to attend the hearing, you're going to have to send it with us for us to take it for you. So we tried to think of all the things. So we want you to send, if you're going, then go ahead and send it in. If you are not, then you'll email it to us. But we also want you to send that same letter to Representative Slosson's office, Representative Cook's office, Representative Kerwin's office, and to Governor Abbott. And we gave you all that information, whether you want to send that in email or you want to send it in snail mail or both. You just go right ahead, just change who your letter is addressed to and send it right on its way. If you would like your letter delivered to the Senate hearing by our volunteers, there will need to be 15 copies made. We can work with you on that, but I'll also need you to email me and tell me that that's your intentions. And it will need to be delivered to the courthouse or emailed by Monday, July 28th. So that's next Monday. And we have two different options to drop it off. You can drop it off in Judge Huckabee's office with Jocelyn or Judge Huckabee, or at the corner of the Don Jones building, the Don Jones Justice Center that's right here. If you go out College Street right here, it's right here on the corner. I believe Jocelyn already put the sign in the wall, sign in the window, but there's a 24-hour drop box there where you could just drop your letter off and we will take care of it. I'll find a way to let you know that we have it in our possession so that way you know it is secure for that route. If you are not able to prepare a letter telling your story, but you would like your name recorded as an opposition, then I'm going to need you to, I strongly suggest, even though I'm not legal counsel, that you sign on with Molly, because Molly, as you learn, Molly knows what's going on. She can be a very trusted source. I have been very selective in, I am the keeper of the people. That's, in my mind, that's who I am. I'm the keeper of people. You're not getting anybody's anything from me till I know that you can be trusted. And so I think that Molly is a huge asset to us in this fight, and her being able to present a petition with our signatures on it is going to be great to them. And so I've given you two different options because sometimes web pages are weird. So not only does she have it on the QR code, so the same QR code that you scan here, if you're not a QR code person, you just want to type that email, type that web address in. I have two different options here. You can just do one of them, and that's where you'll enter in your information to sign on to have your name added to her list. So these two papers are what you are going to need. Miss Bonnie Terrell also created a timeline. You've seen it come up here. There's a lot of people that don't understand what our timeline is. During the SOA hearing, we were able to have a timeline, but as you can tell in the SOA order for the timeline we were supposed to be following, they didn't even follow it themselves because we were already supposed to hear back from them by now, and we haven't. So it's another example of you have to follow our rules and we don't follow anybody's rules. So right now, this is the timeline. There's also printed copies there in case you want to make notes. One of the things that is very important is we're going to try to we'll have another update meeting After the hearing, as soon as we hear about a hearing for the house, we'll try to have another meeting and get the information out there so that way you can be able to advocate for yourself in that route. This time, we understand that it could be the travel to Austin and back could be challenging. It could be harder. As Lance Trink likes to point out, the demographic of landowners in this area is like 65 and over. And so they have put a huge technology burden on everybody because it all has to be done with technology. Because if it was easy for y'all to do, you would have done it yourself. You wouldn't have had to have volunteers to help you. And so we feel like the travel could be a burden too. And I'm all about, we're not having any excuses. Like there's no excuses in my book. We're not doing it. So I did contact a shuttle service, a tour bus service. And so I don't have the final rate on what that is. One coach holds 56 people, the other one holds 35. So it just depends on who needs to have a rideshare option. Maybe it might be easier to you to just ride with a friend. But if you don't have that option, we are going to attempt to have a rideshare option. So over here on this, at the end of the table, I have a sign-in sheet that looks similar to the front. That is your name, your rider count, and your phone number, because that's the only way that I know how to communicate this in a short window of time to be able to know this is even anything worth going forwards on. I mean, everything that we've had to do is like our pants were on fire. We have to, this is the decision and this is what we have to do. This is what's come about and this is what our options are. And so this is the best option that I can come up with. I haven't asked for permission from Stephenville ISD, but I told them that we would probably park at Stephenville ISD because that's where the tour bus. So it's the same tour buses that the Stephenville ISD uses. It's the same company because I don't have time to vet people. But if they're going to put our kids on a tour bus company, I think I should probably go with those. Be trusted. We're just going to go with it. So if Dr. Seedstrom sees that checks off all the boxes for teenagers to be on and that the school is responsible for, that's what I signed this up for. So I've got to talk to Dr. Seedstrom. So the location is still not set yet, but I also don't know what the need is. And until y'all tell me, I know that it could be a problem and I'll be glad to find a solution for it, but I just have to know that that's a need. So if you need a ride, there is a sign-in sheet right over there. I just need you to fill out the information. If you are interested, but you don't know based on what the cost is going to be, please fill out your information because the cost is going to go down based on the number of people that are signing up. So it is going to be a long day. If you plan to ride share, you should probably be prepared because the leave time on that is at 4:30 a.m. So you would leave. So you would need to be here at 4:15 to get on the bus for them to leave because the buses, they don't know what type of traffic they would have to be in. Plus, the bus wants you to be able to be there and be off the bus and be where you need to be before 8 o'clock in the morning. That's the goal. Because like Molly said, they can start signing up people. Plus, a lot of us are navigating things we have never done before. I don't know about you, but I've never been to Austin to go to a hearing. And so therefore, I wouldn't know where to go. And so luckily, Molly is going to help us navigate that. I can also speak to Ms. Lawson's office to help us navigate that. But I can't take a whole tour bus full of people and take them there and not know where we're going. So we have to have some time to get where we need to go, restroom breaks, all of the things. So we do have that option. If you are interested in that, please fill out the paperwork to tell us so. We do have a couple minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Let me get a mic.
Emily, can I mention something?
Yes, let me get a mic. Hold on. Let me bring the mic. It's okay.
Emily, can I mention something?
If you go to Austin and you don't intend on speeding, and you have to leave it with somebody, please sign in at the kiosk at the back. And you don't have to give testimony, but
If
you
you've
can sign
gone
in
to
and you
Austin
can give your
and you
preference whether
don't
you're for
intend
the
on
project or
speaking and
against the
giving
project.
testimony, but you're
Yeah.
with somebody,
So that at
please
least
sign
records
in
you
at the
if you were
kiosk at the
there,
back.
and it will be on the
And
list. Your name will
you
be on
don't
the
have to
list.
give
as
testimony, but you can sign in and you can give your preference
against
whether you're
or
for the
against.
project or against the project. And
If you have
so
questions,
that at
please come
least
to the mic so
records you
everyone
that you
can
were
hear you.
there, and it will be on the list. Your name will be on the list, and it's pro.
Also, I should preface this with, we're
against,
not having
for,
any
against.
grandstanding. We all know we're in the same fight, we all don't
If you
like
have
it, so we
questions,
don't need
please
you to
come to the
tell
mic
us.
so everyone can hear you.
This is for questions.
Also, I should preface this with, we're not having any grandstanding. We all know we're in the same fight, we all don't like it, so we don't need you to come tell us. This is for questions.
Hi, I'm Diana Wright, and I have property in Hood County and in Erath County. Both properties will be affected by the C3 section that is proposed. And I don't know if this is the appropriate place to ask this question or not, but when you mention, when you write your letters to offer a solution, I have talked to other legislators and my solution was bury the lines. And they said, well, it would be too expensive for these companies. And I'm like, well, I don't care, you know. But if it would be of less harm to our agricultural land, if having this under the land would not affect our cattle, our hay, pesticides, this sort of thing, is that a viable solution and one that should be suggested, or should I just say,
I appreciate the fact of you not wanting to find a solution, but the thing is they're just extension cords. So they're not generating additional power, which is what is needed. So, although burying the lines is a solution to them not being in the sky, but the fact is, unless there's more generated power, it's not a solution.
Okay, my
So,
second question to that
although
is that
burying the
we
lines
all
is a
see the
solution to them
existing
not being in the
smaller
sky,
power lines
but the
and
fact
not
is,
to
unless there's
double
more generated
them
power,
into other
there's not,
people's
it's not a
problems,
solution.
but why do they my not follow second the question to existing that lines when the is that proposed lines are not, we all you know, see less the than a mile existing away? smaller
Yeah,
power lines.
we've talked
and
about that,
not
and
to
that's because they
double
have to be
dip
outside
into
of the
other
right of
people's
way, so
problems,
literally
but
you would have
why do they not
the
follow the existing
right of
lines
way
when the
that's
proposed lines
100
are
feet
not,
now,
you know, less
it
than a
would
mile
go
away?
additional 200 feet
We
outside of
talked
that.
about that, and that's because
And,
they have to
I mean,
be
it's been
outside
discussion, but
of the
at the
right
end
of
of the
way,
day,
so
it's still
literally you
just
would
an
have
extension cord that's just
right
not
of
solving
way
the problem.
that's 100 feet now, it would go additional 200 feet
Extension
outside
cord
of
thing is
that.
a little confusing
And,
to me.
I mean,
Okay.
it's been
Put the line
discussion,
in
but
the air,
at the
how
end of
can
the
we
day,
keep the
it's
line
still
up?
just an extension cord
Well-
that's just not solving the
Yes.
problem.
Yes. Hold on, Joanna, get the mic.
The extension cord thing is a little confusing.
Okay, there are
Okay.
technical difficulties with that. Number one, underground, it would have to be DC.
Well,
AC does the travel.
hold on, Joanna.
Any distance of having an underground is problematic, so it would have to go
Okay,
from
there are
AC
technical
to DC.
difficulties with that.
And all our lines
Number one,
at the minute
underground
are
would have to
AC.
be DC.
Everything that we have
AC
overhead
doesn't
is
travel.
AC. So you're
Any
changing,
distance of
the
having it
whole
underground is
way the
problematic,
grid
so it would
would
have to go
work.
from
and
AC
that's
to
where the
DC.
expense comes in.
And all our lines at the minute are AC. Everything that we have overhead is AC. So you're changing the whole way the
I
grid
think
would
the
work.
other thing
And
that's
that's
a
where the expense
misconception,
comes in.
with a lot of people, and we learned this, I learned this more from that Texas Policy Foundation, explanation of the transmission lines and what they were
I think
originally
the other
intended
thing
for.
that's
And then
a
also when Encore
misconception,
came.
with a lot of
Encore's-
people, and
Encore's,
we learned this, I learned this
proposal
more
for
from that
this
Texas
is when they
Policy
lose power in
Foundation,
West Texas
the
to be able to
explanation
send it
of
to,
the transmission lines and
like,
what they
they-
were originally
like,
intended for.
if you lose
And
power in
also
one
when
spot
Encore-
in Texas, then
Encore's-
you could send it from
Encore's,
another spot in Texas
proposal
to
for
have that.
this
But
is
that
when
doesn't
they lose
solve
power in West Texas
whenever
to
we
be
had
able to
Storm
send it
Uri,
to East
how far
Texas.
were we
Like,
from
they,
losing?
like, if you lose power in one
4 minutes and
spot,
like 30 something
you could
seconds
send it
from
another
losing
spot
the
in
grid
Texas
across
to
the
have that.
entire state of
But that
Texas.
doesn't solve.
That's not an
whenever we
extension
had
cord
Storm Uri,
solution.
how
That's
far
a,
were we
that's a
from
power
losing
generation problem.
4
The
minutes and, like,
same day that we had
30
the last
seconds
390,
from
one
losing
meeting,
the grid
they had
across
the
the
last
entire state
391
of Texas.
was
That's
actually the
not an
day
extension
that,
cord solution.
Microsoft,
That's a
and
power
Chevron,
generation
I
problem.
think it's Chevron,
The same day that we
acknowledged,
had the last 390,
Microsoft and
They
Chevron.
have a
So
less
Microsoft is
than
putting in a data center in
was
West
actually
Texas.
the day
And Chevron
that,
is the one that they have partnered with
Microsoft
to build local
and
generation to
Chevron,
power that data center.
I think it's Chevron.
So they're literally
acknowledge,
proving that it can happen.
Microsoft and Chevron. So Microsoft
That
is
they
putting in
can
a
do
data
it
center
because
in West Texas.
Chevron wanted
And
in on the
Chevron
money.
is the one that they
And
have partnered
I'm
with
probably,
to
this
build
is gonna
local
go on the
generation
internet,
to
so
power that data
we'll
center.
see.
So
Chevron's
they're
probably gonna
literally
pass that for me.
proving
I don't
that
know.
it can happen.
Just a girl in Lincolnville, Texas.
That they
Um,
can do it.
Anyway,
Because
and
Chevron
so,
wanted in on the money.
they proved
And
that it's possible for
this is
them
gonna go on the
to
internet,
generate
so
power
we'll
wherever
see.
they want to
Chevron's
generate
probably
power.
gonna after me. I don't care.
And so
This girl in
in
Lincolnville,
time,
Texas.
in letting time tell, extension
Anyway,
cords aren't gonna
and
be
so,
needed if they can
they
generate the
proved
power
that
in
it's
the different
possible for
locations
them
that we
to
need it. I mean, we
generate
have the
power
Comanche
wherever
Peak
they
Power
want
Plant.
to generate power.
On one of the last
And
391
in
commission
time,
meeting,
in letting
one of the
time tell,
commissioners,
extension cords aren't gonna be
from
needed if
from
they can
Somerville
generate the
County,
power in the different
he has a
locations that
lot
we
of
need.
knowledge about
I
the
mean, we
power
have the
that's
Comanche
generated
Peak
from
power
Comanche
plant.
Peak.
On one
And
of the,
in that,
the
if
last
you
391
speak with him,
commission meeting,
the
one of the
power that's gonna
commissioners,
already be sold to the data centers that are supposedly going in there,
Somerville County,
Comanche Peak
he
had
has a
already
lot of
filed
knowledge
for
about the power
additional
that's
power,
generated
like
from Comanche
put in
Peak.
additional power
And in
there.
that,
But yet,
if you speak
these
with
are
them,
already gone.
the
Like, they're
power
already
that's gonna
picking
already
up.
be sold to the data
So
centers
we're
that
gonna
are
have to
supposedly
have more
going in
solutions
there,
or
they,
something,
Comanche
and
Peak
it's
had
not
already
going
filed
to be
for additional
plugging the
power to
extension
like
cord from
put
one
in
part to
additional
the
power
other part.
there, but yet.
So does that answer your
it's
question?
already gone.
It's not a one way or the other, it's a,
So
if
we're
they
gonna
need
have
power
to
in
have
West
more
Texas, they need to
solutions
figure
or
that out.
Something, and it's not
They,
going to
if we
be
need power in East
plugging
Texas,
an
they need to
extension
figure that
cord
out.
from
We need
one
power
part
here,
to
we
the
need to
other
figure
part.
that out.
So does that
Stop
answer
getting
your
rid of
question?
Comanche Peak power for
It's
somebody
not a
else,
one
but
way or
that's
the
my
other, it's a,
soapbox
they
I'm
need,
gonna
if
get
they
off
need
of
power in
it.
West Texas, they need to figure that out. If we need power in East Texas, they need to figure that out. If we need power here, we need to figure that out. Stop getting rid of Comanche Peak power for somebody else, but that's my soapbox, I'm gonna get off of it, so.
I'm Laura Crawford from Protect Biloxi, and you were talking about a bus. We have applied for a grant to pay for the bus. We haven't gotten
wonderful.
that approved yet, but it's looking very positive.
Okay, can I get your contact information? Okay.
Nonprofit that is offering that is with a grant for just that purpose.
That's wonderful.
So we'll keep you posted on that.
Okay, can I get your contact information?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if it's also an option, depending on how much we get for the grant, that we might be able to go in the night before and book hotel rooms
Okay,
instead.
so if,
I don't
so
know
if you have an interest in
might
those
ask
things,
which
I just need
preference
your
to
name
be
on the list
early
so that we can have
and don't
those,
have to go away and not
individual
have
discussions.
overnight or,
Because everyone has different needs,
a hotel stay.
some just can't be away from
Okay,
home at night,
so
there's
if-
a lot of reasons.
So if you have an
Why
interest
people
in
that
those
couldn't
things,
attend the
I
previous
just need
hearings,
your
because
name on the
leaving
list so that
your
we can
home
have those.
is just not something that
individual
you're able to
discussions.
do.
Cause everyone
and
has
so we need
different
to
needs,
know,
that also just can't be away from home at night.
Hey,
There's a lot of
anybody
reasons, why people that couldn't attend the previous hearings, because leaving
have any
your
questions?
home.
I think Ms.
It's just
Lawson
not
has,
something that you're able
something
to
else
do.
she would like to share.
And so we need to know.
And then I'll give you
that
one
also.
more round and we'll wrap it up.
Just one other, maybe two things that occurred to me while I've gotten to listen to everyone. I want to give you some hope, and I want to give you some really important information for those of you, I don't even remember now, 20 or so, that raised their hand that you're going to Austin. There are friends on that Senate committee. And when you come into that room that day, I want to give you some specific names of who has already signed on to that amicus brief and already they're aware of the issue and they are on our side about it. That is Senator Donna Campbell, Senator Brent Hagenbu, Senator Lois Kolkhorst, and Senator Kevin Sparks. That's a big deal. The makeup of that committee, there are 11 senators on that. 7 of them are Republicans, 4 are Democrats, and of those 7 Republicans, those 4 that I just named are the ones who've already signed on. So you've got a majority of the controlling party of that committee who's already well aware of the issue, signed on to the brief. You've got the chairman of the committee who was the sponsor of this bill back in 2023, who set the whole issue for a hearing in the first place. And I would never presume to speak on behalf of senators, but it's a big deal that the Senate has set that up. I want you to also know that Governor Abbott is well aware of the issue. There have been alarm bells raised from a bunch of us over and over, making sure his office understands that in years past, the biggest issues that we would hear about from constituents were border security and property tax relief. All the time, those were the first two. And for those of us out here in rural Texas, that has changed in the last year and a half to becoming transmission lines and data centers. Property taxes is still a big deal. We still hear a lot about that for valid reasons. But it's important that they know that these other two issues that they might not have guessed are really critical for rural Texans. And we turn out and vote. We got a lot of Emily's from Lingleville, Texas, out in our part of the state. The last thing that I will leave you with, Emily, is I would be happy to help sponsor a bus to get people down there. So if y'all decide that that is an option that you want to take, I would be happy to help coordinate and pitch in on that for anybody that will make it easier. It's roughly from my garage, just outside the city limit sign down here, to my parking spot at the Capitol. On a good day, no traffic, it takes me 2.5 hours door to door. So I would expect a 4:30 departure time. While it's brutal, it would be the way to go, and it gets you there, and it would be much easier than, trust me, dealing with those crazy Austin drivers on the north end that is still construction and toll roads and all the other mess that goes along with that. So that's all. Thank you so much. Trust me, dealing with those crazy Austin drivers on the north end that is still construction. Yes, and it would be entirely appropriate when you submit remarks to thank them for already signing on to this brief. Their names are Donna Campbell. Yes, and it would be entirely appropriate. Brent Hagenbu, Hagenbu, for already signing on to this brief. Lois Colforce. Their names are Donna Campbell and Kevin Sparks. Brent Hagenbu, Hagenbu. Colforce. Okay. Lois Colforce. And Kevin Colforce. Sparks. Okay, Hagenbu, Hagenbuch. Colforce. That doesn't, you say it, not how it is, sorry. Lois Colforce, Kolkbuch. That doesn't, Horst. Lois Colforce and Kevin Sparks. Yes, Horst.
No, sir, that's why I gave you more time.
Kevin Sparks. Yes.
No, sir, that's why I gave you more time.
City limit off of 108. So with our property, 2 neighbors. So we live right at an hour north of the city limits off of 108. So with our property and 2 neighbors, there's power line, it's already the same in the existing power line. And on our 3 acres, my property, the plan power line is gonna cross the existing power line. So with my property, over my neighbors on that side, with a 200, if there's already a 100 foot.
You know what? They don't either, because Encore's gonna say they're gonna wait for their boots on the ground to decide that. That's what they're gonna say. That's Encore's answer, is they're gonna wait for their boots on the ground study to be able to do it.
They don't either, because Encore's gonna say.
The answer to that question,
They're gonna wait for their boots on the ground to decide.
they have not done
That's what they're
anything.
gonna say.
So
That's
what we
Encore's
do
answer,
need from you
is they're
is
gonna
you
wait
to
for their
tell
boots
your
on the
story
ground
and
study to
ask
be
those
able to tell you.
questions, for sure. We need you to ask.
The answer to that question.
that on why.
They
If
have
there
not
is-
done anything.
If there is
So,
questions
what we
that
do
you
need
have,
from you
we
is you to tell
need
your
to
story.
know those. We, as in the legislators, need to know those. We need to keep moving forwards, keep turning up the heat. Do not give up in this fight. There was a lot of people that when we started this, were like, oh, you're never gonna accomplish anything. Like, they're gonna do what they want, and you're gonna pay the bill on it, and that's gonna be the way it is. And I'm here to say, it's not happening right now. That is not what we're seeing. It went from a group of people saying this is not okay in Lincolnville, Texas. I mean, I would have never dreamed that when I went to the first 391 meeting, and I looked around and there was maybe 30 people in that room, and I was like, we're never going to accomplish anything with 30 people. And so I talked to a few people that were there and said, hey, if we had a public meeting, do you think people would come? I thought maybe 100 people would show up. The very first meeting that we had over 430. They stopped counting at 430 people in the cafeteria of Lincolnville, Texas. There's a lot of people that didn't even know Lincolnville, Texas had a cafeteria. So the fact is that we've been able to make an impact. A lot of people that said that we couldn't do this said that, oh, you're just wasting your time. We're not wasting our time. I don't do things that waste my time. And you don't either. And you have stories to tell, and the only one that can tell your story is you. And so I just urge you to continue to tell your story. I know this is long, it's drawn out, it's tiring. It's long and it's short all at the same time. We had to meet all of these quick deadlines for them to not meet any deadlines. And so one of the things that I spoke with Molly about, I don't know how many of you know, I don't know how many of in this room are part of that, but in the SOA order where they dismissed the people that didn't meet the testimony requirement, you filed to be an intervener, and then you had to meet the testimony requirements that were there no guidelines on unless you came to a meeting put on by volunteers. No one told you how to do that. It was all uncharted territory. 600 people were removed from the list that had filed to intervene. 600 people. And as soon as we released the list that said there's 600 people that were removed, my email started blowing up, my phone started blowing up going, I don't know what I did wrong. I thought I did the things. And the ironic part of it is it's a lot of the people that returned their intervener form from the Encore packet. They literally filled out the paperwork in their Encore packet, and it didn't tell them that they had other requirements. And so, yes, we learned a lot of lessons, and we were able to take those lessons and the lines that are after us, thanks to Joanna and these other groups of people, we've been able to get stronger. Every line after us has gotten stronger. I mean, if you attended the SOA hearing virtually or you watched it, it was pretty brutal. It was a pretty brutal thing because it was attorneys going against pro se people. There was no unity. There was no stop the project. It was the attorneys that are paid who knows how much money, probably more than some of us have seen in a lifetime. For one case, they were fighting, trying to get all of us removed, because if they got us removed, then they could move the line wherever, because there was no protest there. And it was unfair and it was unjust for them to do that. But I have to tell you, whenever I listened to the PUC hearing, those same attorneys, I'm not going to say their names because I'm on a recording. Those same attorneys that we listened to object to what we did, have things thrown out as hearsay, things that would have been great for the case, not only our case, but their case. They got removed. They sat there in that PUC hearing and said that that something in this system, something in this has to change because it was unfair. And they don't know how pro se, if you don't know what that means, that's all of us individuals that do not have an attorney. They don't know how pro se people even knew how to navigate it. Now you have people that are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars per party sitting in a room saying, our offices were overwhelmed. We didn't know what to do. One guy said that he thought his assistant was going to quit because there was such a workload. And yet we all felt like we were losing. But actually, all of those efforts had a value, because now what did Joanna say? There was 48 attorneys and 381 just on our line. And ever since then, all we've been able to do is the pro se that are after us on these other lines, we've just built a network to make them stronger. And that is phenomenal in showing that we are stronger together, because this isn't a put it over on our neighbor fight. This is a we're united and we don't want this at all. It makes no sense. You can't justify a need. We're Texans. We would do anything to help our neighbor. But if this is not going to help someone, then we have a problem. And so I just thank you for taking the time to jump through all of those hoops and to do all of those things, because it's being known now that, you know, the 600 people were removed. Here's your opportunity to tell your side of the story, because just because you didn't fit into their window doesn't mean your story disappears. It's just as valuable. And the reason that you didn't advocate for yourself in the first round is even more valuable, because you should have been given the opportunity to do that. And so now is the time to speak. Now is the time to step
It's
up
just as
and
valuable.
provide the
And the
stuff.
reason that you didn't advocate for yourself in
your
the first
voice.
round is
I'm
even
not telling
more
your story.
valuable.
You can tell your
Because
story.
you should have been given
I
the
encourage you to tell your
opportunity
story to
do that.
Molly.
And so
if
now is
you
the
will.
time to speak.
It's a fantastic
Now's the time
avenue to be
step
able to
up
do that.
and provide
But
the
also,
stuff,
just in writing, who you are,
of your voice.
follow the
I'm not telling
things
your
that
story. You can tell your
Ms.
story.
Castleberry's been able to
I
put on
encourage you to
this
tell your
form.
story to Molly.
Because I think that
If you will,
together
it's
we
a fantastic
can make an
avenue to
impact.
be able to
And
do
so
that.
I just thank
But
you all
also,
for
just in writing, who
listening
you
to a
are,
crazy blonde
follow
in
the,
Lincolnville,
follow
Texas.
the things that, Ms.
Sure.
Castleberry's been able to
Go ahead,
put on
Judge.
this board. Because
Yeah.
together, we can make an impact. And so I just thank you all for
I
listening
won't
to a
get to
crazy
talk to you all
blonde in
again
Lincolnville,
before we do
Texas.
this. The question was asked, given an alternate, what the 391 All right, I just want to say something because I want the generation all over the transmission. And so that gives you an alternate.
The question was asked, given
Have
an
to sit there.
alternative, what the
Hey,
391
what am I gonna
commission
dream up to
find
give
our
them
policy
an
online.
That's in our policy,
alternative
that's
is local-
available online. I
local,
wanted to make sure I said that.
Generation of
Not to
local
end
transmission.
on her
And
great
so that gives you an
No,
alternative.
that's what we
inspirational
need to know.
speech. But that is something, so
Hey,
you're
what am
not
I gonna dream up
turning
to
your
give them
wheels.
an alternative?
That is in our
That's in
391
our policy,
policy,
that's
local
available online.
generation,
I wanted to
local
make sure I said that.
transmission. And
Not to
thank you
end on her
again.
great.
Thank you all. Please grab forms. Please sign up. If you didn't sign the sign-in sheet, please sign that. If you want to be added to our email, it's no765kb@gmail.com.
Please sign up. If you didn't sign the sign-in sheet, please sign that. If you want to be added to our email, it's no765kb@gmail.com. Thank you, Molly.